Denver was a city of contrasts where modern skyscrapers stood alongside historic buildings and bustling downtown streets gave way to quiet, tree-lined neighborhoods. The Rocky Mountains loomed in the distance, a symbol of the city's rugged beauty and the adventurous spirit of its inhabitants. It was in this vibrant yet occasionally troubled city that Detective Alex Carter had built his life and career. Alex was a seasoned detective with the Denver Police Department. Known for his sharp mind and unyielding determination, he had solved numerous high-profile cases, earning the respect of his colleagues and the community. His wife, Emily, was a school teacher, beloved by her students for her patience and creativity. Together, they had a 9-year-old son named Jake, who was the light of their lives. The Carter family lived in a cozy house in a suburban neighborhood where they enjoyed a peaceful and happy life. The first mysterious death occurred on a chilly autumn evening. The body of a young man was found in a downtown alley, his lifeless form showing no signs of trauma or struggle. The autopsy revealed that he had died of heart failure, but the circumstances were unusual. There were no underlying health conditions, and his expression was one of sheer terror. Alex was assigned to lead the investigation. As he stood at the crime scene, his eyes scanning the eerie surroundings, he felt a familiar mix of determination and dread. The inexplicable nature of the death hinted at something far more sinister than a simple heart attack. Back at the precinct, Alex gathered his team. Detective Lisa Ramirez, his reliable partner, was already poring over the evidence. Forensic expert Dr. Michael Green analyzed the body, searching for any clues that could explain the young man's death. "This doesn't make sense," Lisa said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "He was healthy, no signs of foul play, yet he died of a heart attack." Alex nodded, his mind racing. "There's something we're missing. We need to dig deeper, look for any connections or patterns that might explain this." As they delved into the young man's background, they discovered that he had been a regular at a local bar. Alex and Lisa decided to visit the bar, hoping to find someone who might have seen or heard something that could shed light on the case. The bar was dimly lit and filled with a mix of patrons enjoying their evening. The bartender, a burly man with a friendly demeanor, recognized the young man from a photograph Alex showed him. "Yeah, I remember him," the bartender said. "He was here last night, chatting with a woman. Never seen her before, but she was something else. Beautiful, mesmerizing. They left together." "Did he seem nervous or worried at any point?" Alex asked. The bartender shook his head. "No, he seemed smitten, couldn't take his eyes off her. She had this presence, you know, hard to describe, but she was captivating." As they left the bar, Alex and Lisa discussed the possibility that the woman might be connected to the young man's death. They decided to canvass the area, asking other bar patrons and nearby businesses if they had seen the mysterious woman. The following days brought little progress. The woman's description was vague, and no one seemed to know her. Meanwhile, another mysterious death occurred. A middle-aged man found in his home, also dead of an unexplained heart attack. The community's fear began to grow, and the media picked up the story, sensationalizing the mysterious deaths. Back at the precinct, Alex and Lisa pored over the evidence, trying to find any connection between the victims. They discovered that both men had frequented the same bar and had been seen with a woman fitting the same description. The pattern was clear, but the nature of the deaths remained a mystery. As they continued their investigation, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something supernatural might be at play. He had always been a rational man, relying on facts and evidence, but the inexplicable nature of the deaths made him question everything he knew. One evening, as he sat in his study, Alex decided to do some research on supernatural phenomena. He came across stories and legends about succubi, demonic entities that seduced men and drained their life force. The more he read, the more he was convinced that they were dealing with something beyond the natural world. Alex shared his findings with Lisa and Dr. Green. While Lisa was skeptical, Dr. Green was intrigued. It's a long shot, but we can't ignore the possibility. We need to look for any historical records or similar cases that might give us more information. The investigation took on a new direction as they delved into old records and consulted experts in folklore and mythology. They discovered that there had been similar cases in other cities, all linked to the presence of a mysterious woman who seemed to disappear without a trace. As they pieced together the clues, Alex and his team realized that they were dealing with a succubus, an ancient and powerful entity that fed on the life force of men. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. They knew they had to act quickly to prevent more deaths and stop the succubus before she could claim more victims. Little did Alex know his quest for the truth would lead him down a dark and dangerous path, one that would test his resolve and ultimately bring him face to face with the very entity he sought to stop. The mysterious deaths in Denver continued, each new victim fueling the community's fear and the media frenzy. As more men died under inexplicable circumstances, the city began to feel the grip of an unseen terror. Detective Alex Carter was more determined than ever to uncover the truth and stop the succubus before she could claim more lives. The fourth victim was a young professional found dead in his upscale apartment, his face contorted in the same expression of sheer terror as the previous victims. The autopsy revealed the same inexplicable heart failure with no underlying health issues. Once again, there were no signs of struggle or foul play. Alex and his partner, Detective Lisa Ramirez, continued to dig deeper into the victims' lives, searching for any connections that might lead them to the succubus. They discovered that the latest victim had also been seen with a mysterious woman at a trendy downtown bar the night before his death. Determined to find more leads, Alex and Lisa visited the bar. The bartender, a young woman with a sharp memory, confirmed that the victim had been there with an exceptionally beautiful woman. She was stunning, the bartender recalled. Long dark hair, piercing eyes. She seemed to have this magnetic presence. Everyone noticed her. "Did you notice anything unusual about her behavior?" Lisa asked. The bartender shook her head. "Not really. She was charming, confident, but there was something off. I can't quite put my finger on it." Alex and Lisa left the bar with more questions than answers. They knew they were dealing with a succubus, but finding concrete evidence was proving to be difficult. The succubus was cunning, always staying one step ahead, leaving no trace of her supernatural nature. As the investigation progressed, Alex began to feel the strain. He spent long hours at the precinct, poring over case files and historical records, trying to piece together the succubus's pattern. His dedication to the case began to take a toll on his personal life. Emily grew increasingly worried about him, and Jake missed spending time with his father. "Alex, you need to take a break," Emily urged one evening as they sat in their living room. "This case is consuming you. You need to rest for your sake and ours." Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, Emily, but I can't let this go. Too many lives are at stake. I have to stop her." Emily reached out and took his hand. "I understand. Just promise me you'll take care of yourself. We need you, too." Despite his wife's concern, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. He knew the succubus wouldn't stop until she was caught. He threw himself back into the investigation, determined to find the key to stopping her. One evening, as Alex was going through old police reports, he came across a case that caught his attention. It was a cold case from 20 years ago, involving a series of mysterious deaths in a small town just outside Denver. The victims were all men, and their deaths bore the same hallmarks as the current cases: sudden heart failure and expressions of terror. Alex contacted the retired detective who had worked on the case, hoping to find some insight. Detective John Harris, now in his 70s, agreed to meet with Alex and share what he knew. They met at a quiet cafe where Harris recounted the details of the old case. "Back then, we didn't have the technology or the knowledge to understand what we were dealing with, but I always suspected there was something supernatural at play." "Did you ever find any leads?" Alex asked, eager for any information that might help. Harris nodded. "We had reports of a mysterious woman seen with the victims before their deaths. She vanished without a trace, just like your succubus. We never caught her, but I always believed she would resurface someday." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The succubus had been operating for decades, moving from place to place, claiming victims and then disappearing. He realized that he was dealing with an ancient and powerful entity, one that would not be easily stopped. As Alex and Lisa continued their investigation, they consulted with Dr. Sarah Whitman, an expert in folklore and mythology. Dr. Whitman had extensive knowledge of succubi and their behaviors, and she provided valuable insights into how they operated. "Succubi are incredibly seductive and manipulative," Dr. Whitman explained. "They prey on men's desires and weaknesses, draining their life force during intimate encounters. They are difficult to track because they can change their appearance and blend into any environment." "Is there any way to identify or trap a succubus?" Lisa asked. Dr. Whitman nodded. "There are ancient rituals and symbols that can reveal a succubus's true nature, but they are risky and must be performed correctly. Any mistake could result in dire consequences." Alex and Lisa decided to use the knowledge they had gained to set a trap for the succubus. They identified the bars and clubs where she had been seen and set up surveillance teams to monitor for any signs of her presence. They also enlisted the help of Dr. Whitman to prepare the necessary rituals. The plan was risky, but they knew they had to take the chance. They couldn't afford to let the succubus continue her deadly spree. As the surveillance teams watched and waited, Alex and Lisa prepared for the confrontation that they knew was inevitable. One night, they received a call from one of the surveillance teams. A woman matching the succubus's description had been spotted at a high-end nightclub downtown. Alex and Lisa quickly mobilized their team and headed to the location. The nightclub was buzzing with energy, the music loud and the lights flashing. Alex and Lisa made their way through the crowd, scanning for the mysterious woman. They finally spotted her sitting at the bar, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders and her eyes gleaming with an unnatural allure. Alex signaled to Lisa and the team. They moved into position, ready to execute their plan. Alex approached the woman, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. "Excuse me, miss," he said, his voice steady. "I'm Detective Alex Carter. I need to ask you a few questions." The woman turned to face him, a seductive smile playing on her lips. "Of course, Detective. How can I help you?" Alex felt a strange pull as he looked into her eyes, but he fought to maintain his composure. "We've had reports of a woman matching your description being seen with several men who later died under mysterious circumstances. Do you know anything about that?" The woman's smile widened and she leaned closer. "Detective, are you accusing me of something?" Alex felt a wave of dizziness as her scent filled his senses. He struggled to focus, knowing he had to stay strong. "I just need to know if you've seen or spoken to any of these men." The woman reached out and touched his arm, her touch sending a shiver down his spine. "Detective, I think you should relax. Let's have a drink and talk about this somewhere more private." Alex's mind was foggy, but he managed to signal to Lisa, who was watching from a distance. Lisa nodded and moved into position, ready to perform the ritual that would reveal the succubus's true nature. As the woman led Alex towards a secluded area of the club, Lisa and the team followed. Once they were in a quieter spot, Lisa began chanting the ancient incantation, holding a small vial of holy water and a symbol etched in silver. The woman's demeanor changed instantly. She turned to face Lisa, her eyes flashing with anger. "What do you think you're doing?" Lisa's voice was steady as she continued the incantation. "Revealing your true nature, succubus." The woman let out a shriek, her form shifting and twisting. Her beautiful exterior melted away, revealing a hideous, demonic creature. The succubus lunged at Lisa, but Alex and the team intervened, using the holy water and the silver symbol to hold her at bay. The confrontation was intense, with the succubus fighting desperately to escape. But the combined efforts of Alex, Lisa, and the team were too much for her. Finally, with one last anguished scream, the succubus was vanquished, her form disintegrating into a cloud of black smoke. As the smoke cleared, Alex and Lisa stood together, breathing heavily but relieved. They had done it. They had stopped the succubus and ended her reign of terror. The community of Denver breathed a collective sigh of relief as news of the succubus's defeat spread. The mysterious deaths ceased and people began to feel safe once more. Alex and his team were hailed as heroes, their bravery and dedication recognized by the city and their peers. Despite the victory, Alex knew that the fight against darkness and evil was never truly over. He remained vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace, grateful for the support of his family and the strength of his team. Little did he know, the true confrontation with the succubus was yet to come, and his resolve would be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Despite the apparent victory, Detective Alex Carter couldn't shake the feeling that something was still amiss. The succubus had been vanquished, yet a sense of unease lingered. He continued to delve deeper into the case, seeking answers and trying to understand the full extent of what they had faced. Alex's dedication to the investigation began to take an even greater toll on his personal life. Emily grew increasingly concerned for him, noticing the dark circles under his eyes and the constant tension in his demeanor. Their once happy home now felt strained, with Alex spending more time at the precinct and less with his family. "Alex, you need to let this go," Emily urged one evening, her voice filled with worry. "You defeated the succubus. You need to take care of yourself and be here for us." Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, Emily, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this. I need to make sure we've truly put an end to it." Emily nodded, her eyes filled with concern. "Just promise me you'll take care of yourself. We need you." As Alex continued his investigation, he received a call from Dr. Sarah Whitman, the expert in folklore and mythology who had assisted them previously. "Alex, I've come across something you need to see. There's a historical record that might shed more light on the succubus's origins and abilities." Alex agreed to meet with Dr. Whitman at the university library. As they pored over ancient texts and manuscripts, they discovered references to a powerful succubus named Lilith, who had plagued various cities over the centuries. Lilith was known for her ability to seduce and manipulate, leaving a trail of death and despair in her wake. "This aligns with what we've seen," Dr. Whitman said, her voice hushed. "But there's more. According to these texts, Lilith had a way of transferring her essence to another host if her physical form was destroyed. It's possible that she could still be out there, looking for a new body." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "So, you're saying we might not have stopped her after all?" Dr. Whitman nodded gravely. "It's a possibility. We need to remain vigilant and watch for any signs of her presence." Armed with this new information, Alex and his partner, Detective Lisa Ramirez, intensified their efforts to uncover any remaining traces of Lilith. They re-examined the victims' backgrounds, looking for any connections they might have missed, and continued to monitor potential hotspots where Lilith might reappear. Their investigation led them to an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of Denver. The mansion had a dark history, with rumors of occult practices and supernatural occurrences. Alex and Lisa decided to investigate, hoping to find clues that might lead them to Lilith. The mansion was eerie and foreboding, its once grand exterior now decaying and overgrown with vines. As they entered the building, they felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The air was thick with the scent of mold and decay, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. "Stay close," Alex whispered to Lisa as they made their way through the dark, dusty corridors. They explored the mansion room by room, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. In one of the rooms, they found an old, dusty book filled with strange symbols and incantations. Dr. Whitman had mentioned that such books were often used in rituals to summon or bind supernatural entities. As they examined the book, they heard a faint noise coming from the basement. Alex signaled to Lisa and they cautiously made their way down the creaking stairs. The basement was even more oppressive, the air damp and musty. In the center of the basement, they found a large, ornate mirror. The surface of the mirror was dark and swirling, as if it held a portal to another realm. Alex felt a sense of foreboding as he approached the mirror, his reflection distorted and twisted. "This must be it," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This is where Lilith's essence is trapped." As they prepared to perform the ritual to banish Lilith once and for all, the air around them grew colder. The swirling darkness in the mirror intensified, and a figure began to emerge from its depths. Lilith's form materialized, her eyes glowing with an unholy light. She was even more terrifying in her true form, her beauty now twisted into something monstrous. "You think you can stop me?" she hissed, her voice echoing through the basement. "I am eternal. I cannot be destroyed." Alex and Lisa stood their ground, determined to finish what they had started. As Lisa began chanting the incantation, Alex held up the silver symbol, its surface gleaming in the dim light. Lilith shrieked and writhed, her form twisting and contorting as the power of the ritual took hold. "You cannot defeat me," Lilith screamed, her voice filled with rage and desperation. "I will return." With one final ear-splitting scream, Lilith's form disintegrated, the darkness in the mirror dissipating. The basement fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Alex and Lisa stood together, breathing heavily but relieved. They had done it. They had banished Lilith and ended her reign of terror. As they left the mansion, Alex felt a sense of closure. He knew that they had truly put an end to the succubus, and he could finally begin to heal. He returned home to his family, determined to rebuild the life that had been disrupted by the investigation. However, the peace was short-lived. One evening, as Alex was spending time with Emily and Jake, he received a call from Lisa. "Alex, we need to talk. There's been another death." Alex's heart sank. "I'll be right there." At the precinct, Lisa explained that a young man had been found dead under the same mysterious circumstances as the previous victims. Alex felt a sense of dread wash over him. Had they missed something? Was Lilith still out there? As they reviewed the evidence, they discovered that the young man had been seen with a woman matching Lilith's description just hours before his death. Alex felt a surge of anger and frustration. They had been so close, yet Lilith had managed to escape once again. Determined to end the threat once and for all, Alex and Lisa redoubled their efforts. They consulted with Dr. Whitman, who suggested that Lilith might have found a way to anchor her essence to multiple hosts, allowing her to continue her deadly spree even after her physical form was destroyed. Armed with this new knowledge, Alex and Lisa devised a plan to track down and neutralize Lilith's hosts. They identified several individuals who had been seen with the mysterious woman and set up surveillance to monitor their movements. One night, Alex received a call from one of the surveillance teams. They had spotted a woman matching Lilith's description at a downtown hotel. Alex and Lisa quickly mobilized their team and headed to the location. The hotel was upscale and bustling with activity. Alex and Lisa made their way to the room where the woman was staying, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As they approached the door, they heard strange noises coming from inside. Alex signaled to Lisa, and they burst into the room, their weapons drawn. Inside, they found a woman in the midst of a ritual, her eyes glowing with an unholy light. She turned to face them, a twisted smile on her lips. "You cannot stop me," she hissed. "I am eternal." Alex and Lisa moved quickly, using the silver symbol and the incantation to disrupt the ritual. The woman screamed and writhed, her form shifting and contorting as Lilith's essence was expelled from her body. As the ritual ended, the woman collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. Alex and Lisa knew they had succeeded in stopping one of Lilith's hosts, but their work was far from over. Over the next few weeks, they continued to track down and neutralize Lilith's hosts, each encounter more intense and dangerous than the last. The toll on Alex was immense, but he remained determined to end the threat once and for all. One night, Alex received a call from Dr. Whitman. "Alex, I've found something. There's a final ritual that can permanently banish Lilith's essence, but it's incredibly dangerous." Alex listened intently as Dr. Whitman explained the details of the ritual. It required a powerful incantation and a binding spell, performed at the site where Lilith's essence was first anchored. Determined to see the mission through, Alex and Lisa prepared for the final confrontation. They gathered the necessary materials and made their way to the abandoned mansion, where they had first encountered Lilith. As they began the ritual, the air around them grew colder and the shadows seemed to come alive. Lilith's form materialized once again, her eyes filled with rage and desperation. "You cannot defeat me," she hissed. "I am eternal." Alex and Lisa stood their ground, chanting the incantation and holding up the silver symbol. Lilith screamed and writhed, her form twisting and contorting as the power of the ritual took hold. With one final, ear-splitting scream, Lilith's form disintegrated, the darkness in the mansion dissipating. The air grew still, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Alex and Lisa stood together, breathing heavily but relieved. They had done it. They had permanently banished Lilith and ended her reign of terror. As they left the mansion, Alex felt a sense of closure. He knew that they had truly put an end to the succubus, and he could finally begin to heal. He returned home to his family, determined to rebuild the life that had been disrupted by the investigation. The community of Denver breathed a collective sigh of relief as news of Lilith's defeat spread. The mysterious deaths ceased, and people began to feel safe once more. Alex and his team were hailed as heroes, their bravery and dedication recognized by the city and their peers. Despite the victory, Alex knew that the fight against darkness and evil was never truly over. He remained vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace, grateful for the support of his family and the strength of his team. Little did he know, the true confrontation with the succubus was yet to come, and his resolve would be tested in ways he could never have imagined. The city of Denver experienced a brief respite after the supposed banishment of Lilith. Detective Alex Carter tried to move on, focusing on his family and attempting to regain a sense of normalcy. However, deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that the threat wasn't entirely gone. He remained vigilant, constantly on the lookout for any signs that Lilith might return. A month after the ritual, strange occurrences began to surface again. Men were found dead in their homes, their faces contorted in expressions of sheer terror, just like the previous victims. The community's fear returned, and whispers of the succubus started to circulate once more. Alex, haunted by his failure to protect the city, threw himself back into the investigation. He reviewed the case files, revisited the old crime scenes, and re-interviewed witnesses. His dedication was unwavering, but the strain on his personal life grew. Emily and Jake noticed his absence, and the tension in their home mounted. One evening, as Alex was poring over evidence in his study, he received a call from Detective Lisa Ramirez. "Alex, we've got another one. Same Mo as before. You need to see this." Alex felt a knot form in his stomach. "I'll be there right away." At the crime scene, Alex and Lisa examined the body of a middle-aged man, found dead in his bedroom. The man had no history of heart problems, and there were no signs of a struggle. It was as if his life had been drained from him. "This can't be a coincidence," Lisa said, her voice filled with frustration. "We banished Lilith. How is this still happening?" Alex shook his head, his mind racing. "I don't know, but we need to figure it out. There must be something we missed." As they continued their investigation, Alex and Lisa discovered a chilling pattern. Each of the recent victims had been seen with a mysterious woman shortly before their deaths. The descriptions matched Lilith's, but it seemed impossible that she could have returned. Determined to find answers, Alex and Lisa consulted with Dr. Sarah Whitman once again. Dr. Whitman was equally baffled, but suggested that Lilith might have found a way to anchor her essence to another host or object, allowing her to continue her deadly spree. "We need to find the source of her power," Dr. Whitman said. "There must be something or someone keeping her essence tethered to this world." Armed with this new theory, Alex and Lisa revisited the sites of the recent deaths, searching for any clues that might point to the source of Lilith's power. They discovered that each victim had received a mysterious gift, a small, ornate box, shortly before their deaths. Inside each box was a piece of jewelry, a ring, a necklace, a bracelet. Each item was inscribed with ancient symbols that Dr. Whitman identified as binding spells, used to anchor supernatural entities to specific objects. "This is it," Alex said, holding up one of the rings. "These items are what's keeping Lilith's essence in our world. We need to find out who distributed them and why." Their investigation led them to a high-end antique shop downtown. The owner, a charming and enigmatic woman named Isabella, seemed to have an uncanny knowledge of the items in question. "These pieces are quite rare," Isabella said, her eyes gleaming with interest. "They have a fascinating history, dating back centuries." Alex felt a sense of unease as he listened to her. "Where did you acquire them?" Isabella smiled mysteriously. "I'm afraid that's a trade secret, but I assure you they're perfectly safe." Lisa leaned in, her voice firm. "People have died after receiving these items. We need to know where they came from." Isabella's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. "I'm afraid I can't help you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have other customers to attend to." As they left the shop, Alex and Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that Isabella was hiding something. They decided to keep her under surveillance, hoping to uncover more information about the origin of the jewelry and its connection to Lilith. One night, while monitoring the shop, they saw Isabella meeting with a man in a secluded alley. The man handed her a small, ornate box, identical to the ones found with the victims. Alex and Lisa decided to follow him, hoping he would lead them to the source of the cursed items. The man led them to an old abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. As they approached, they saw several figures moving inside, engaged in what appeared to be a ritual. "We need to go in," Alex whispered, his heart pounding. "This could be our chance to stop Lilith once and for all." They moved cautiously, entering the warehouse and hiding behind a stack of crates. The scene before them was both surreal and terrifying. A group of people, including Isabella, were gathered around an altar, chanting in an ancient language. On the altar was a large, ornate mirror, its surface swirling with darkness. "This must be it," Lisa whispered. "This is where Lilith's essence is anchored." As they watched, the chanting grew louder, and the mirror's surface began to glow. A figure started to emerge from the darkness. Lilith, her form as terrifying as ever. "We need to stop this," Alex said, his voice filled with determination. "Now." They moved quickly, disrupting the ritual and scattering the participants. Isabella and the others tried to fight back, but Alex and Lisa were prepared. They used the silver symbols and incantations they had learned from Dr. Whitman to weaken Lilith's hold on the mirror. Lilith shrieked and writhed, her form twisting and contorting as the power of the ritual took hold. "You cannot defeat me," she screamed. "I am eternal." With one final ear-splitting scream, Lilith's form disintegrated, the darkness in the mirror dissipating. The warehouse fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Alex and Lisa stood together, breathing heavily but relieved. They had done it. They had permanently banished Lilith and ended her reign of terror. As they left the warehouse, Alex felt a sense of closure. He knew that they had truly put an end to the succubus, and he could finally begin to heal. He returned home to his family, determined to rebuild the life that had been disrupted by the investigation. In the weeks that followed the final confrontation with Lilith and the destruction of the Heart of Darkness, the city of Denver began to heal. The mysterious deaths ceased, and the community slowly returned to a sense of normalcy. Detective Alex Carter and his team were celebrated for their bravery and dedication, but the toll of the ordeal was evident. Alex took some time off to reconnect with his family and recharge. Emily and Jake were relieved to have him back, and their home gradually regained its warmth and happiness. Alex spent quality time with his son, taking him on camping trips and attending his soccer games. He and Emily worked on strengthening their relationship, which had been strained by the intensity of the investigation. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, Emily turned to Alex. "I'm so glad you're back, Alex. I was so worried about you." Alex took her hand, his expression serious. "I know, Emily. I'm sorry for everything I put you through, but I had to see it through for the sake of our family and the city." Emily nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "I know, and I'm proud of you for what you did. But now it's time to focus on us and our future." As the days passed, Alex began to feel a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in months. The weight of the investigation lifted, and he could finally start to move forward. He returned to work with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to continue protecting the community he loved. Detective Lisa Ramirez also took some time to reflect on the events that had transpired. She had been a steadfast partner to Alex, and their bond had only grown stronger through the challenges they faced. Lisa's dedication and resilience were recognized by her peers, and she was promoted to lead detective in her own right.